Hey everyone, it's Tracy and I have Gary with me today. So if you remember, I did a video about Jake the Snake, about his documentary and about how he was an alcoholic, he was on drugs, he was overweight, he was really out of shape. He was a wrestler. And it wasn't so much about him being a wrestler, but about how his friend, and he was his mentor, Diamond Dallas Page. Jake the Snake was his mentor in wrestling, and Diamond Dallas Page didn't start wrestling until he was like 36. And so it was more about that Diamond Dallas Page had started this yoga program, and he brought in Jake the Snake and helped like rehabilitate him and got him sober. And then Jake the Snake now is still sober, and he's been inducted to the Hall of Fame of the WWE. And none of this would have happened had Dallas Diamond Page not reached out to him. So it was more of a story about a friend, someone believing in you to get him to believe in himself to where he is now. And Gary here reached out to me, and he actually, from the thumbnail, you can see lost a lot of weight, and he did and still is doing Diamond Dallas Page's program. And so I said, hey, that's interesting. Can I reach out to you? And can we interview? And he said, yes. So everyone meet Gary. Hi, Gary.
Hi, Tracy. Honored to be on here.
I'm happy to have you. So we had talked before, and I know when you started, you were bedridden, and we had just been talking about kind of give us the lead up to where you were like, couldn't take it anymore, and then started this journey.
Yeah, and I have to back up to 2006. I was involved in a drug study. I have psoriasis, and I was involved in a drug study for that. And I'm one of the people that it went sideways for. And the long and short of it is that I lost 80 to 85% of my strength overnight. And the official diagnosis was reversible posterior leukoencephalopathy. Basically, they said, the neurologist said it's like it eroded the myelin sheath, and which is essentially similar to what MS is. And I had a lot of the same symptoms. And just over time, when before all this happened, I was about the same size I am now. And
what is that? I know you told me. How tall are you and how much do you weigh?
I'm 6'4" and about 260. And I'm and we'll go into it, but I'm looking to now to finish off the weight loss and get down to probably, I don't really want to get any lower than about 235, in that range. For my height, that's not a bad place to be.
And what was your heaviest then?
Heaviest was 407.
Wow.
Yeah. And at 407, life is miserable. You can't, I couldn't walk. I could barely walk out to my mailbox and back, and I was in excruciating pain. I couldn't stand in one place long enough to cook eggs. I mean, if I had scrambled eggs, it was crack eggs, stir, sit down, get up, stir, sit down, get up, stir, and it was just a constant pain. And, that went on for years of just getting worse to the point where I developed acquired scoliosis, to where my back is like, got a nice S shape to it. And I say I'm 6'4", and my doctors tell me I'm 6'2" now. I still think I'm 6'4". I don't care what they say.
Yeah.
I said, well, I can stand next to people who claim to be 6'2", and I'm 2 inches taller. So I don't know what that means.
Don't they say all guys add 2 inches?
Someone's not telling the truth. Might be me. But, and then 4 years almost exactly, I had a kidney stone that in the amount of time it took to, do the dance with the doctors to get the referrals and everything, I had the kidney stone go septic on me. And I ended up in a ICU in an induced coma for a week. And during that time, my younger brother was calling my kids saying, hey, if you want to see your dad again, you might want to get down here. He said there were about 2 or 3 days that were pretty sketchy. And when I came out of the coma, they moved me. I wasn't able to go home. I couldn't take care of myself, and there was no one there to do it. And so I went to a rehab hospital for 3 weeks. And When I first weighed in, they weighed me in at 380. And so I don't know if I lost weight before I got there or not. I have no idea. And during the time I was there, they were, like breakfast was like 1 egg, a piece of toast, the smallest fruit cup I've ever seen, and a 4-ounce apple juice. And lunch and dinner weren't much different than that. And, they would weigh me at the end of the week. And at the end of the second week, when they weighed me, I weighed 328. I was down 50 pounds in 2 weeks.
Wow.
And I made a comment about that. And they're like, well, that can't be right. And they went and got another scale. And on that one, I weighed 2 pounds less.
Oh,
And I'm like, yeah, do you mind feeding me a little more?
right.
And,
Yeah.
and during the time I was there, they were getting me up and using a walker. The first day was literally 2 steps forward, 2 steps back, and down for the day. And by the end of the 3 weeks, I was using that walker to walk all over their facilities and through their parking lot. And so when I got home, I wanted to continue that. I mean, I was seeing results, and as I mentioned to you, it's like I saw a light at the end of the tunnel. I don't know, if it's a freight train or if it's the exit or whatever. But
Yeah.
at least it's a direction. I'm going to run with this. And
Mhm.
so I started. They sent someone out to do rehab, and their version of rehab was useless. I mean, I haven't died. I don't really have a high opinion of physical therapists. I've had to go to a few, and I don't have a very high opinion.
Mhm.
Uh, so I started looking into, what I could do, because, I couldn't do traditional exercise or anything. I was literally bedridden. And I remember seeing Diamond Dallas Page's DDP Yoga. There was a video of the disabled veteran.
Mhm.
And, I know who he is now and everything. I haven't met him yet, but, if you haven't seen it, you should see Arthur's transformation. Look up disabled veteran yoga.
I'll put the link. Yeah, I'll put the link down in my description. Yeah.
Yeah, and my transformation, is along the same lines, but I mean, his is documented, mine's not. So his is way better. And he's off living his life now and teaching. But so and when I first looked at it, I saw that video, and where he's standing and doing these yoga positions, I'm looking at it going, I can't stand that long, and my balance is so bad. I mean, there's literally no way I can do this. But I was also at the point where I was desperate to figure out what I could do. I wanted to see. My attitude is, what can I get away with?
Mhm.
What these are my limitations. What can I get away with? And so I went to the DDP Yoga website, and they had just come out with a program uh, that would start you off in bed, which is where I was at. They have 4 programs that you do in bed. Then you transition into doing chair exercises, and there's more than 5 or 6 for that. And then from there you transition to standing, but using chairs for stability. And when I first started, I had to have a chair in each hand, and I still almost ended up on the ground. I just my balance was terrible, and I was weak. And it just went from there, and kept working on it and changing. Completely changed my diet. I used to eat like a raccoon, uh, you know, fast food and junk food. I had gotten to the point where I didn't care. I mean, you when you're in pain all the time and you literally can't do anything, you
Yeah.
just want the end to come.
Right.
Never to the point of wanting to do something seriously about it, like to put a gun in my mouth. But I was more than willing to eat myself to death, and just I was drinking 2 2-liter bottles of Dr. Pepper a day, and to wash down chips and cookies and whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
Worst diet in the world.
Yeah.
And once I started, losing the weight, I started looking at what to do. They have a diet program that they start you off on, and if you follow it, you will lose weight. I can,
Mhm.
look on the DDP Yoga Facebook group. You'll find a bunch of them. The trick is finding, so is to with your diet is to find something you can do long term.
That's
Anyone can
sustainable.
do
Yep.
strict. You can find something you'll lose weight with, but if it's not sustainable, you're going to go back to your old way of eating and gain it right back. You have
Right.
to find something that that you can do and tastes good. So what works for me may not work for you.
Right.
Um, Personally, what I do is probably way too strict for what you would want to do, and some of that is because of my other health issues with the psoriasis, and I can't eat. Dairy is not my friend. tomatoes are not my friends. I mean, stupid things like that. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
cruciferous vegetables, they contribute to kidney stones, so they're off menu. And so it's taking, it only took me 40 years to figure out how to do it, all this stuff. I've had psoriasis for 40 years, and I've been on pretty much every med they had for it. And uh, at this point in time, I've had better results with exercise and food than I did with some of the most expensive drugs you can imagine. I've been on Ambro, Cosentyx, all those ones, and those drugs are 100 to 150K a year, and I do better, changing my diet and exercising. I don't need them anymore.
Isn't it interesting though? Because I mean, they say food is medicine, and that you tried all these medicines. It seems like, taking a pill seems like a quick fix, but then, you're even allergic to, I know you said like Percocet or pain pills, and then you started taking too much Advil, and then what did that cause? Liver?
Well, taking ibuprofen for an extended period of time, damages your liver and some to your liver, but also to mainly your kidneys.
Yeah,
And so I got to the point where all I could have was Tylenol, which is for me is useless.
right.
But along with the gaining all of the weight, I got acquired scoliosis, and also my L3, L4 vertebra was basically just smashed flat. And in the MRI, to me, it looked like it was bone on bone. You look where the spinal cord is supposed to be, and it was just pinched. And, I've met with surgeons, and, they had told me that it was inoperable, that if they tried to operate, it was more likely to end up in paralysis than being cured. And, I'd also at one point visited with the doctors about a gastric bypass. And after, they have you go through like an hour-long seminar where they explain everything. And, I checked every single box for high risk that they had. And I'm going,
Mhm.
maybe this one isn't for me, especially since I haven't given diet and exercise a good shot yet. And I won't go that route until diet and exercise doesn't work. And, when I got out of the hospital, I started looking at, these videos, and started to work out, and I started seeing results. I dropped 140 pounds in 9 months and walked away from the wheelchair in 10. And
Wow.
then I started riding a bicycle, and I worked up to where I was riding 10 to 20 miles a day, and, and also walking. But, due to other issues with, bad knees and bad back, I can walk about, about 2.5 miles before, everything says, what, you need to take a break.
Yeah.
So for the most part, it means I can do anything I want except for take long hikes. So, in normal life, I can do anything I want. If someone says, "Hey, I want to go hike the Grand Canyon," yeah, you enjoy yourself on that one,
Yeah.
because I'm not coming with you. And then, it was hilarious because as this went by, my doctor was, monitoring my blood work and everything was falling in line very well, to the point where I eventually dropped all of my medications, the blood pressure, the metformin, the cholesterol, even my asthma medications, everything gone.
Wow.
And I attribute that mainly to food and weight loss. You has to be both. But
Right.
and the first time I went in to see my doctor, where didn't have the wheelchair, I rode my bicycle there. And when I walked in, he realized that I didn't have the chair with me. His jaw hit the floor. And then about a year or so later, on a visit, I walked in. I was carrying my riding gear and my helmet, and he realized I was riding a motorcycle. His head exploded, because that's not supposed to happen. You don't go from
Right.
morbidly obese, unable to walk, to getting on your motorcycle and traveling across the country, which I did last summer. Uh, that's part of what intrigued me about your channel. Is you're going, I am going, doing this. I'm going to hop
Yep.
in the car and I'm heading off, and I don't know where,
Yep.
I don't know what happens next. And I'm going, I know that story. I've done it on a motorcycle.
That's so
And
great.
oh man, and I can't wait to do it again.
Right. Right. Well,
This
and
time I'm
especially
doing it on a
you,
4-wheel.
because you
So
were so confined, thinking you'd never even walk again, let alone get on a motorcycle, let alone travel cross country.
absolutely. And everyone goes through and it's like, well, how do you stay motivated? And my motivation when I started doing this, it's like, why do you want to do this? I've got kids who are, in their, 20s and up to 30. And at the time they were all in their 20s. And, it's like, there's going to be a wedding somewhere along the line. And I want to be able to walk my daughters down the aisle and stand through, be able to stand through a reception and, be normal,
Yeah.
and, I'm at a point where I can do that now. Still haven't heard of any weddings, but at least I'm ready.
Yeah, you're ready. Yeah. Gave you time to get ready. Yeah.
That's right. Well, it's been 4 years, and I figured it was going to take me 2 years to be able to walk again. I did it in got out of the wheelchair in 10 months.
Wow.
At that point, I don't know that I could have completely stood through 2 hours or something like that, but I was working toward it. It's crazy. It's just crazy.
But we talked about too about motivation. There's usually something that starts the motivation, but to keep motivation, it's not like that daily. We were talking your analogy about motivation, about pushing a car.
Yes, yeah. It's like, at first it's hard to get going, but once you get it rolling, you can stay behind it. If you're on level ground, it keeps moving fairly well. But if you quit, it slows down, and then you have that hard push to get going again.
Yeah.
And but yeah, it's crazy.
But so it's the consistency that helps maintain it. Like
well,
you
and on
have,
top of that, you have a goal. My goal was to be able to walk and be pain free. I've
right,
done that. Then you get
right.
into now what?
Now what?
And
Yeah,
yeah, and my whole attitude from the very beginning is, look, what can I get away with? What can I do? And
right.
so, that's part of what led up to being able to ride the motorcycle cross country. Uh, I mean, I don't, it's not the weight loss stuff. So unless you want to go off on that down the rabbit hole, I won't go there. But, that was also something that led me to Atlanta to see Diamond Dallas Page. It was funny because if you join his group, if you join the program and you do the things they say, because they have, write out your goals, take some pictures, and this
Yeah,
is all for yourself. So whatever pictures you take, no one else is going to see but you.
right.
And
Yeah.
take the pictures, write down your goals, do this, and you submit it. Basically you're submitting what your goals are, and he contacts people randomly. I mean, he may talk to someone who started 2 days ago. Well, in
Mm-hmm.
my case, I went, I lost the weight, never heard from him. I started doing Facebook Live with a number of the people, letting them tell their stories, and never heard from him. Went through, and eventually I bought the motorcycle, hadn't heard from him. When I taught, in my goals for this, he has a challenge that he does every year. And they're like, what would you do if you won? And I, stated that, I'd get a motorhome, travel across the country, visit family and friends, and, and just do things like that. Well, I didn't win that, but I
Right.
put out there that, I have the motorcycle, and my goal is to ride the motorcycle across the country and do just that, visit family and friends, and see things, and do, and, I did a terrible job of documenting that, because it's really hard to film when you're on a bike. And, I just didn't make time for it. And
Right.
I made the huge mistake of traveling way too fast.
Mm-hmm.
But after I, had gone online and I talked about what I was doing, a couple of days later, I got a call from him, talked to him for about 10 minutes and whatnot. And he said, hey, if you're ever in Atlanta, touch base.
Yeah.
So, after, taking up, I started in Riverside, California, went to Salt Lake City, through Colorado, New Mexico, Texas, and,
That
on up
sounds
into,
familiar. Yeah.
yeah, and then I went up to St. Louis and then back down to Atlanta. And when I was about a week out of Atlanta, I contacted him and said, I'm heading to Atlanta. Are you going to be available the next week or so? And so I got contacted back, and, went there to meet him, and we did, I did an hour workout with him, and there was a group that was there, and they
Yeah.
filmed that. I hope it never sees the light of day, but hey, they filmed it. I had a broken foot. During my travels, I was on an off-camber gravel road, and the front end washed out, and the bike landed on
Oh
my foot and
no.
crushed it. So I broke my foot in about 3 places.
Oh
So
no.
that's why, the next trip's going to be on 4 wheels.
Well, so what keeps you going now to stay in shape?
I get to
And I
do.
know that you have like a specific thing. That's why, we talked about not really talking about diet, because you have a very specific diet because of your eczema and all that other stuff, all of your other medical problems, because we said what would work for you wouldn't work for me necessarily, wouldn't work, that's why, on
It
YouTube,
might work short term, but there's no way.
right,
Most people would never stick to my diet.
right.
It would be way too restrictive for them.
And that's it. It has to be sustainable, but really it does come down to diet and exercise and being consistent with it. Like if you want to lose weight, you have to burn more calories than you're consuming.
Well, and I can tell you, you know how you lose 140 pounds? Now, the
How?
first chunk I mentioned, I lost 50 in 2
Yeah.
weeks, but that's not normal. That,
Right.
Anyone expects that, that's crazy.
Right.
But, normally you're going to lose like 1, maybe 2 pounds, especially when you first start, you'll lose it a little bit faster, but
Right.
it will level off to where you're
Yep.
losing maybe 1 pound a week.
1 a week. Yep.
And, and it's just, you look at it and you go, I'm only losing a pound a week. And you're going, you realize that's, to lose 1 pound, you have to burn 3,500 calories. What are you eating? Because you're gonna, it's 3,500 calories that you had to burn.
Right.
But, it's just a matter of, and that's the thing, is you just have to stay at it, because from one day to the next, it's not like there's, big jumps being made.
Right. And it's just consistency. It's staying with it, even though there's sometimes you don't want to go. I remember, I live in Minnesota. We'd have like a snowstorm. And I remember after work, I'd drive to the gym and I'd be sitting in my car, nice and warm. And I'm like, I do not want to get out of this car. But then, I'm like, I'm already here. And then once I get in and get changed and everything, and we talked about before, there's no, you never regret doing a workout. You always feel better
Some of my best
afterwards.
workouts have happened on days I didn't want to do it.
Right. Yeah. And so, yeah, so talk about, I know, and we'll just mention this because I know you follow a diet from someone and it's in a book.
Yeah, and you know what? The book is sitting, I forgot to grab it. If you want, I can grab it.
Yeah, go ahead and grab it. You can show it to us.
If I can do this without totally banging the camera around.
Oh, that's okay. My videos aren't that professional. I'm working on that. Little intermission here. I'll do a little dance. I should have brought the ukulele.
That's right. You can play the ukulele while I'm going and running over there. But if anybody wanted professional, I wouldn't be here.
Yeah. Well, me either. Me either. So we're good.
What I follow is the vertical diet by Stan Efferding.
Okay.
I'll hold this for a minute if anyone wants to get a look at it.
Okay.
You can get it on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, and all those other places.
What steered you there?
I was looking at the diet that, everybody's diet's slightly different in what they want to do. And the other one, while it works and you can lose weight quickly, for me, it wasn't sustainable. I mean, in that diet, they wanted, you got the usual broccoli and cauliflower. A lot of people are making cauliflower pizzas and all. Well, like I said, cauliflower is off menu. So it started to get restrictive in some ways that I didn't like. And so I started to look at what would work. And I was also looking at, different stuff with, strongman and whatever, just because it interests me. And that's how I stumbled on Stan Efferding. He's known as, the world's strongest bodybuilder. He did powerlifting and bodybuilding, and he's retired now. But if you saw him, the guy's still jacked.
Mm-hmm.
But he goes through and explains, how food works in ways that you've never heard of before.
Mm-hmm.
The other ones, that they talk about food combining, he doesn't do that. But he gets down in what he'll establish a base, and protein, especially when you're older, protein is a high priority, because as you get older, you don't process it quite as well.
Right.
Plus, if you're going to build muscle, you're going to need some protein.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, the protein and the amount is based on your body weight, or actually your muscle mass.
Right.
And then you add your different, there are, specific vegetables he uses. So he uses a low FODMAP, so you don't have all the gas and bloating that you can get with other things. And, to build, your nutrient base so that you're getting all of your potassium and your magnesium, and you're getting your iodine and all of these things that you don't really, you never even thought of before. And then, once you have all of the protein and your vitamins and minerals and everything taken care of, you make up the difference in carbohydrates to make up your calorie count to drive workload. And the format and everything of this diet, he uses it with ballerinas and bikini models, as well as some of the strongest men in the world that weigh upwards of 400 pounds and are just sheer muscle. And it's essentially the same diet. It's just the amounts are changed based on what their physical needs are.
Right.
And I find it sustainable. You'll find people online who call it the beef and rice diet, and that is an extreme oversimplification of it. But I mean, you don't have, beef in and of itself, it has a lot of nutrients in it. It's one of the few foods, it's the only one I know of, but there may be others. But it's an elimination diet if you want, because you can actually, thrive on nothing but beef. You'll have you'll have family and friends freaking out if you do it, though. Oh my gosh, you can't do that. I can point you to people. I can also point you to a friend of mine. Matter of fact, I'll introduce you if you'd like. He is 6'7", and at his heaviest, he was right about 700 pounds. He lost 400 pounds in 23 months. He does, all he does is DDP yoga.
Wow. So to explain, because I know you still do the program, right? I mean, you modify it. Yeah.
It's a combination. He developed himself. It's a combination of traditional yoga along with calisthenics, some of the rehab techniques that he's learned over rehabbing, shoulders and knees from surgeries.
Because he wasn't supposed to wrestle again, right? And then he did this.
He had a back injury, and multiple doctors told him your career's done.
Right.
And he refused to accept that.
Right.
And he looked for a way to rehab, to be able to get back in the ring. Partly because he had just made it big, and if he didn't work, he wasn't going to cash in on a big paycheck, and he kind of wanted it.
And he didn't get accepted into like the WWE till he was like 36. He was a lot older.
He was in his 30s. That's usually when a lot of guys are retiring.
Exactly.
Sports. And he eventually retired I think he was in his 40s when he finally retired.
Yeah.
But and that's one of the things that drew me to it, because he'd had back issues, and it's like, hey, I know someone that's got back issues.
Yeah.
And the program works if you'll put in the work. The program, it's and I will tell you, 90% of your success is between your ears.
Yeah.
Of that remaining 10%, 90% of it is food. 10% of it is the exercise.
Right.
That being said, if you knew how hard I worked out, you'd go through and say, what? I've had multiple people ask me what I eat. And, my standard answer is, you don't want to know what I eat, because it'll do you good.
Right.
Just before COVID, I was doing yoga for an hour a day, along with riding my bicycle 10 to 20 miles. And I'd also go to the gym, because who knew it, in my 60s, I'd turn into a gym rat. I love it.
Right.
Dallas tells me I should quit because I'm old and beat up, and I shouldn't be doing that. So, I'm not the greatest spokesman for DDP yoga, because I do lift weights. That being said, you don't have to. It is DDP yoga in and of itself is enough. I go to the gym because it's socializing, and I also happen to enjoy it.
I love the gym. Yeah.
Yeah. And so when, but at the time, just before COVID, I weighed about 250 at the time. And, so I picked up my COVID-15 and lost 5 of it. In doing that, I was at 250 pounds. And when I lost the weight, I'd hit a plateau and wasn't losing any more. And rather than trying to figure out how to starve myself into getting smaller, I decided to transition into maintenance and just work on gaining my strength back.
Right.
And so as I did that, I added a small amount of calories. And after 2 weeks, I added some more. After a period of time, I added some more. And all this while, during over the course of a year, I lost, another 10 pounds. At the end of that year, I was eating between 3,500 and 4,000 calories a day. So people would contact me and go, "What do you eat?" And it's like, you don't want to know.
Right.
And, no, can you please, can you say, what did you have for breakfast? And I go, okay, I'll send a picture tomorrow. And the next day I sent him a picture of 6 eggs and a pound of ground sirloin. And they about, I mean, you could just see the gasp in their DM because
They probably thought you were
couldn't believe it.
eating like a cup of oatmeal like everybody else and, 3 egg whites. And
Yeah.
that's why, there's those videos on YouTube. All of them are like what I eat in a day, and they're so popular. And here's the thing, I don't even think most of the time those people are videoing that.
Yeah,
So they're doing
it's
it
for
for
sure.
the
They're not-
video. Yeah, exactly. And
Yeah,
it's
it's
not,
all for sure.
it is. And so if you ate exactly what they ate every day, it's not like you would have, and again, I don't think most of it's real, you would not have the same. You have to find something, like you said, that works for you. And it's trial and error.
Yes, very much so. And, I know several people in this program who have lost a lot of weight. I mean,
Right.
one of them lost 400 pounds, and others lost 200 plus.
Right.
And, on my trip, I was visiting people. And I visited him and as well as others. And as we were talking, I made the comment to him. I said, do you get people calling, contacting you and asking you what do you eat? And they both laugh at, and look at me and go, yeah, all the time. And, and I said, okay, have you ever had anyone ask you how hard you work? And boy, at the same time, they're like, nope, not one.
Well, and two, for you, because you have other medical issues like the eczema and stuff like that, and the kidney stones. And so you are kind of really narrowed to certain things that you can eat, right? Or that helps with all those other
I
things.
have narrowed, what I've done is, basically done an elimination diet.
Right.
And then I add things and find out. The one thing you'll find from the vertical diet is, don't eat foods you like, eat foods that like you. And so, after this elimination diet, I started adding things back in. I mean, that's not the only thing I eat.
Right.
There are times when I do, but there are times when, I'll eat rice, potatoes, whatever. I mean, I'm not beyond having some ice cream.
Right.
And I mean, I've had one time when I was, working real hard like that. I had the day where I went through and, it's like, okay, I'm going to eat a half-gallon ice cream. Don't do what I do, because
how'd that turn out?
lost 2 pounds.
Yeah.
And, I probably gained it, I gained it back over the next couple of days, but, but it comes down to work. I mean, I also adjusted to a great degree for calorie intake. So, I mean, like I said, I was eating close to 4,000 calories a day and not, as maintenance,
Right.
A half-gallon ice cream, that wasn't my daily food. I mean, I was less than, I just adjusted for it. But, don't do that. Don't do that.
Well, and that's the thing. It's just so individual. Do you know what I mean? Like, but starting like with DDP, and like you said, if you do follow that diet and you do the exercises, you are going to
everybody is going to, everybody's going to stumble.
Yeah.
No way. I don't know of anyone who stuck to their diet 100%.
Never.
From start to finish, and then went into maintenance and then maintained that from start, forevermore, and did perfect at it. You're going to have times where you stumble, or you're going to go to a family Thanksgiving and you're going to have, pumpkin pie. It's going to happen. The next day, get back to work. It's like,
well,
okay,
and that's the
happened,
thing, because you still want to enjoy your life, and go out with friends and do that, but it's just a balance. It's a give and take. And
on Thanksgiving Day, this past year, I had Thanksgiving with my well, not this year, last year I had it with my younger brother and his family, and I had some of everything.
Yeah.
And I didn't have as much as I would have had in years
before
past.
Yeah.
And I only had one plate.
Right.
And I mean, for some people, it's purely portion control. It's not what you're eating, it's purely the amount.
Right.
And if you want to do it that way, put away your dinner plates and just use salad plates. You only get one plate, eat that.
That's a good trick of the mind too, to have smaller plates, because everything through the years have become bigger. Even when we go out to eat, oh my gosh, I went to get a salad one time and it's like a bowl that I could never, I could have eaten the leftovers for a week.
Well, and of course, everything, if, when I was a kid, if you went to McDonald's or anything like that, I mean, what they, you know, you look at it and they have the little junior burger. That was a
Right.
standard hamburger.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, it was
Yeah.
available as a double. And then they came out with the Big Mac, and it was huge compared to everything else. Now Big Mac's not even big.
Well, I was
You
gonna
know,
say, and everything though now, like I know I've gone to Culver's before and stuff, and you have to look because everything is now is like a double patty or a triple patty, and it's like, no, I just want a regular hamburger. Like they hardly even just sell just regular, oh, when I had a hamburger, where was I? I stopped. I don't ever eat fast food really, but I hadn't had a hamburger was that when I was on the road these last couple of weeks. And I'm like, I really want a hamburger and French fries. And that's when I went, that's when I met, what's his name? The guy that I bought the stuff for. But, and I said, I asked for a kid's meal because it's the only way that you can get a regular portion size.
yeah, in many cases, I mean, I've had times where I'll either get just a burger and
Yeah.
water. There's
Yeah.
been also, there are times when I'll have fries, but
Right.
if you're trying to lose weight, skip the fries. If you're
Right.
maintaining, you can get away with a little more, but you still
Right.
have to watch what you're doing.
Right.
And it comes down to and if you ever once you start looking at the nutrition side of it, and just the basics, protein, carbs, and fats. If you look at that, you're gonna and you go, well, I'm gonna go have uh, a Big Mac, large fry, and large soda, and you're going, wait a minute, that's 1,400 calories. If you're only getting 2,000 for the day,
Right.
am I only eating once?
Right.
All of a sudden, it's not worth it.
Well, and plus the
best thing I
nutrients that,
found is to the best thing you can do is to get away from pre-processed foods.
yes.
If it's things, if you make it yourself. I personally believe, and this not documenting where this is me, and I'm not a doctor. I was, although I slept at a Holiday Inn once, uh, but eat what your grandparents and great grandparents ate.
Right.
The funny thing is, for me, that means my ancestors come from Scotland and Scandinavia, so you know you know basically meat and potatoes.
Right. That's what I grew up
and I do
on.
really well on it.
Yeah. Right. And so again, it's just what works for you. Find something that works for you, that's sustainable, that you can keep up with, and get moving.
Yeah, and that's it. Now, as far as like with my back, because everybody's it's like one thing to lose the weight. It's what did you do to fix your back?
Right.
One of the primary ones was to lose weight. The other is you have to move.
Yeah.
And you don't have to be lifting stupid heavy weights. As a matter of fact,
No.
I'd highly recommend against it at first.
Right. Yeah.
But like with your back, the discs in your back are like little viscous pucks that have really bad circulation. And so when you have jobs that you're sedentary and you're sitting and watching, you got a computer screen and you go home and you sit and you watch TV, that disc is just sitting there and it's notoriously poor circulation. But
Yeah.
if you move and you're stretching, you're bending all the time, it's like a sponge. If it just sits there, nothing's happening. But if you're moving it around, squeezing it, water will go through it. Well, that's how the nutrients get brought to it and your body will heal itself in combination with the weight loss and everything else. The success that I've had, has been off the charts. I mean, the doctors look at it and shake their head because it makes no sense.
Mhm.
To me, it's like, to me, it's been a miracle. I don't care
Right.
whether anyone believes in miracles or not. You go from, morbidly obese and bedridden and painful to stand to doing the things I'm doing today. I don't know what you want to call a miracle, but that is for me.
It is
I
a
get to
miracle.
do stuff now.
Right.
It completely changed my life.
I mean, you went from bedridden to traveling cross country on a motorcycle.
I went from wanting to give up completely because there was no future.
Right.
And you'll see this in the documentary of the redemption of Jake the Snake.
Yeah.
He has one time where he made a comment to Dallas that it gives him confidence, and Dallas didn't quite understand it first.
Yeah.
He goes, "You don't understand. It's been a long time since I had a win." And
Right.
in my case, it had been with every setback, there was no, when you have things where something happens and you bounce back from it. It had been years since I'd had any bounce back. Every setback was just a setback. There was never
Right.
anything, no forward momentum. So when I was in that hospital and lost some weight and was able to walk further, that was the first win I had had in well over a decade.
Yeah.
So that's why I say it's like, I don't know if it's a train or what, but at least it's a direction. And, I haven't stopped since.
Well, that's what in life coaching, that's why I love life coaching, is because, when we set goals, we want to set it up here like, oh, I need to lose 200 pounds, let's say, but that seems so insurmountable that you have to break it down into small goals. So like, oh, just this week, like not even worrying about the weight, like this week, I'm going to get out and walk around the block. And then just being held accountable to that and actually doing it, that you can do it. Do you know what I mean? It gives you like, okay, I did that. Now I can do another thing. Do you know what I mean? A lot of times it's the building blocks to get to that big thing, because sometimes it just seems too insurmountable to even want to try sometimes.
If you're thinking of it in terms of I need to lose 150 pounds, it's hard to even get yourself to start.
Right. That's exactly it.
Now,
Yeah.
and that's when I started, when I've had so many people go, well, when you started, what was your weight goal? I've never had a weight goal per se.
Right.
Because my goal was to be able to walk and be pain free.
Because we just talked about that. You said my
in
goal.
order to do that, I had to lose weight, but
right.
Weight loss was never my primary goal.
Right. That wasn't the goal. You wanted to feel good. But in order to
right now, I weigh the same as I did when I was in high school.
Right.
Yeah. In high school, you go through them, pick out the football team, pick out the biggest guy in the team. Yeah, that's me.
Right. Yeah.
They get bigger though. My son dwarfs me. He's
Wow.
6'7". Yeah, he's
Wow.
6'7" and weighs me by close to 50 pounds. He's huge.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, your story is so amazing, and really to be bedridden, thinking you never walk again, to, like losing all the weight, and the health benefits, how you feel now is like the payoff.
Absolutely. And I will say that, you'll be amazed at what you can accomplish if you put your mind to it.
Right.
It is. That's why I say that this whole process is 90% between your ears.
For sure.
Dallas has written a book on it called Owning Your Life, and he means owning, this 6-inch piece of real estate.
Right.
It's all, it's all in that, but it's different, but it's like say, weight loss, you don't see much of a change from day to day, but when you have a goal and you know what you want, what are you doing today to make it happen? And and it doesn't matter whether it's weight loss.
Right.
If you have a goal and the goal is, I want to be free of paying rent and this, whatever. I want to move into a van and I want to travel the country.
Yeah.
Well, it's not going to happen unless you make it happen. It happens by, increments, and you go through, well,
yes.
In order to make it happen, what do I got to do? Well, I got to do this, this, and this. Then I'm going to buy a van, and then I got to do this, this, and this to get it ready to go. And when you first started out, I about just died laughing because I've lived it. When you hit the road, you thought you were prepared.
Well, I didn't even know. I didn't know where I was sleeping. I just left the driveway just knowing I had to get to Phoenix. Like I didn't know where I was stopping. I look back now and it's probably the best way to do it. Otherwise, I probably would have been scared. So it worked for me.
I did that with a motorcycle. And,
yeah.
When I headed out, I had an idea what I was going to be doing, but I knew where I didn't. And like I said, I was very destination driven. I traveled way too fast.
Right.
The one caveat I will say, if someone wants to do it on a motorcycle, more power to you. If you're in the Western states, you can find dispersed camping everywhere. It's easy to find places to camp out here.
Right.
East of the Mississippi, it becomes a bit more of a challenge. Even with a van, it's a lot more of a challenge to find a place to camp. Try it with a motorcycle because, a Walmart parking lot,
Where are you going to sleep?
Cracker Barrel. Those are not
Yeah.
options for riding a
No.
motorcycle. No one's letting you pitch a tent or hang a hammock in
Right.
the middle of the
Yeah.
parking lot.
Yeah.
So, you know,
Well,
it becomes a bit
and,
more of a challenge.
and I think too, like for me, they saw like me leaving the driveway and they just assume like, you know, like, oh, you just made it happen. But I had been researching for over 5 years. And then I was like, there's no way I can afford a van. And I started looking and I'm like, there's no way I can afford to do this. And somehow it manifested and I did. And then it was like redoing it. And that was the fun part. But then I was kind of scared to take off because, you know, I like being comfortable too. And then finally, like you just got to a point where it's like, okay, I'm doing it. Once I made the decision, then my mind switched gears to like, okay, this is what I'm doing now.
Yeah, my date for when it was going to happen, I knew, I mean, I bought the bike I had, it was a matter of once I got the funds together to buy my gear,
Yeah.
and once I had the gear, it was like, okay, I got this, this, and this, and this, here we go.
Time to go.
And,
Yeah.
you know, and you go through and it's, you know, it was funny because my sister wanted, when I got there, she wanted to know my itinerary. Where are you going to be at this day and this, and she wanted it mapped out for the next 2 weeks. And I
Oh,
said,
yeah.
there's no point because it's going to blow up tomorrow. And she, you know, and so
Yep.
after going around with that a couple of times, I relented, we made a plan. And the day after I left, it was completely out the window.
Right.
You know, my plan for some of this stuff went out the window the first night. I was heading out to through Las Vegas, visit with a friend, and my first night I was going to camp in the Valley of Fire. Well,
Mhm.
by the time I got there, I'd had a problem with my phone cord. I didn't realize the wind was whipping it around, and it frayed and just broke. And so my phone, you know, wasn't charging, and so I ended up with a dead phone, which meant I didn't have any navigation or anything like that.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So my first night I spent at a truck stop in the way in the back of it. And, you know, I'd stopped late enough that I'm like, you know, I can't pitch a tent here. I just threw down my ground cloth and and laid on the ground in my gear and just cowboy camped it.
Yeah.
You know, awesome
Well,
start.
yeah. Well, hey, you could only go up from there, right?
Hey, you know, it wasn't bad. It wasn't
No,
cold that night.
you get
Uh,
used to it,
the
but
scariest part was when I hear this large dog, you know, coming my direction barking, and the guy
yeah.
goes, "He's friendly."
Great.
Pit bull I've ever seen comes up to
Yeah.
me when I was there on the ground. I went to stand up, and this enormous pit bull basically wanted to
Yeah.
lick me to death.
Oh, wow. Well,
Yeah,
better than being
it
bitten to
was
death.
hilarious.
Well, thank you so much, Gary, for telling us your story. And, you know, I think people will find it, yeah, I want to say motivating, but here's the thing, something can motivate you, but you have to do the work.
I'm not here to motivate anybody, because if I have to motivate you, that means I have to be there every day to push you out of bed to make it
No,
happen.
right. No,
I would
ain't gonna
rather
happen.
inspire you to make you do it
Inspire,
yourself.
that's the word. That's the word I meant. You inspired people.
Yeah,
So,
it is amazing what you can do once you decide to do it.
right,
And
exactly.
one of the things people would ask me is, how do you do this, this, and this? And
Right.
you know, how do you keep from falling back? And I go, I made a decision. I don't have to
Right.
make it again. In the
Right.
morning when I wake up and say, am I working out today? I've already made that decision.
Right.
I'm
Yeah.
working out today. I'm working out tomorrow. I'm working out
Right.
the day after that. I don't have to ask myself, am I working out today?
Right. Yeah. And here's the thing. It's a privilege to even be able to work out, especially like since
Absolutely.
you could it even before. And so, you know, I think about that too, like, because I just brought my sister, you know, my sister's in an assisted living home. And every single time I go to that assisted living home, and that's why I got in that van, because I would go there every weekend to take her out. And I see all these people who can't do anything. And she just turned, well, she's turning 68. We took her out for her birthday. She's been in there since she was 62. She doesn't leave unless I take her out. And that motivates me. That's what pushed me. And when my brother passed away, is that I don't want to I don't want to miss this opportunity of being healthy to be able to
Yeah.
do things now. I don't want to be laying in a hospital bed being, oh, I wish I would have, you know, when
Absolutely.
I was healthy. So that's one of the reasons why I'm doing all this now, because I want to take advantage of being healthy. And, you know, the one thing about living in a van is you never are just sitting around on the couch. Do you know what I mean? You usually want to be out of the van because you're always somewhere. And so, so it's just been, like you said, the mindset
And you
has
meet
just,
wonderful people.
right. And the mindset has just changed. And once it's changed, a lot of times there's just no going back. Do you know what I mean? Now my mindset has changed even about like 9 to 5s or what I'll put up with and what I won't put up with. And it just,
Well, yeah, yours has changed over things like driving over a bridge.
right.
And what changed? Mindset.
My mindset. Yeah, exactly. Remember, I was
Although,
like, what has changed? And that was it. My mindset wasn't anything else.
and I'll tell you one to have fun. You know those bridges that you'll go over where it's basically expanded metal and you can see through the
Oh,
bridge?
I have. I did.
Yeah.
Yes.
If you think that's if that kind of unnerves you a bit in a van, try it on a
Go
motorcycle.
over it on a motorcycle. Yeah, I know. I know. Okay,
Especially when it's
don't want to
windy.
keep this too long, but
I do have one other thing to say.
yes.
And and it's a line from Diamond Dallas Page, and he'll say, what would you do if you knew you couldn't fail?
Right.
And in my case, it was I want to be able to walk and do whatever. And the time I'd made the comment about traveling across the country to visit people. You have to realize when I made that statement, I had just barely walked away from the wheelchair, just barely. I mean, I could barely walk maybe a half mile.
Right.
It is 100%. I mean, 90% of it's between your ears.
Well, I told you, I mean, my turnaround was when my sister, who was 42, was laying in her hospital bed, dying in hospice. And I said to myself, I wonder what she wished she would have done, like had she known this is what would happen. And so that's what I live by. It's like,
Yeah.
I don't want to have to regret anything. So
Exactly. And nobody's going to do it for you.
nope, nobody else is responsible for you but you. Right.
Exactly. I mean, yeah.
Right.
I mean, if people could talk to you. I mean, how many times over the years that I had someone tell me you need to lose weight? It goes in one ear and out the other.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It doesn't help.
It.
And you know what? Telling people they're overweight, they have a mirror. They know that. You don't have to tell them that.
Yes. Yeah.
Believe
they
me,
don't have to be told. They know.
They're already mean enough to themselves inside their heads. You don't have to be mean to them. You know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. They got far more going in their head than you realize.
Yeah.
They know.
Right. Well, thank you, Gary. It's been a pleasure. And we'll stay in touch. And we'll leave comments and ask Gary any questions that you want. And Gary, I'll field them for you if anybody has questions. And then maybe we can do a Q&A if people have enough questions and have you back on and you can respond.
And anybody's interested, again, ddpyoga.com or theverticaldiet.com. You can get hold of those things.
Great.
If you don't want to buy the book, look up the Vertical Diet Iceland. He did a seminar where he basically lays out everything that
The
he
whole
talks
thing.
about.
Yeah, you said that. Yeah.
Fair warning, it's about 2 hours long. But,
well, I'll try to link whatever I can down below. And so then you don't have to go look for it. So I'll look for it for you. Okay. All right. Well, thanks, Gary.
Well, thank you.
It's been a pleasure.
Have a great day.
I will. We'll see you on the road.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. Bye.